This first video that I'm doing is about a game called Dekaron. The original iteration that I played as a kid came out in, I believe, 2004. It was named 2moons, and it was always touted as an extreme action MMORPG. I haven't played this game in probably 12 years or so. I do remember enjoying it quite a bit. So, this video is going to go through kind of my first impressions. I've spent about 5 hours with it now, and I'm going to kind of explain how the game has held up throughout the years, whether it's worth your time, and whether there's anything that really sets this game apart, or if you should spend any time going back to it, even just for nostalgia. Alright, so I'll start with some of my initial expectations for the game. Um, I do believe that the graphics are going to hinder the end result, just because it seems like there's been no rework of the system since I was a kid, and you can tell right away just from opening up the game that there are some shortcomings here. It's very grainy, not a lot of detail, and just in general doesn't seem like the game's going to look that good. Next, I do expect the combat system to be fairly good. When I was a kid, that was the biggest thing that drew me to the game. The game is even advertised as being an extreme action MMORPG. And at the time that this came out, so in about 2004 or so, really the main games it was competing with were probably World of Warcraft. Guild Wars might have been on the list of competitors, and just a few other games. And the combat in those games, I definitely I wouldn't consider those extreme or by any means. So if they actually live up to what they're saying, and it's some sort of better combat system than a traditional MMO, then that is a fairly high expectation from me, and it will obviously make the game a lot better and hold up a lot better. The next thing, I do believe the user interface is going to be fairly poor and outdated just because of the date that the game was made. Once again, I said it doesn't seem like there's been many reworks, and with not having a lot of reworks of the entire game, I think that it's going to be an outdated system, so something similar to World of Warcraft's original user interface, or something along those lines. Also, I do think that the game will be pay to win. A lot of games like this, free to play, jumping from publisher to publisher, they generally tend to be pay to win games. And then, kind of my last big expectation with this game is that there's a lot of variety with the classes. I remember as a kid playing the game and really enjoying that the classes were so unique between the different options. Not a lot of games do that right. Hopefully this game does. Alright, so I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here. I've spent some time with the game. I've went through on two different characters through a decent chunk of the story line or the quests. I don't think you can really call anything in this game a story. But I've went through the quests, and I got through a decent chunk of the game, spent quite a few hours playing through, made a few friends, and went through a dungeon or so. And I think I have a fairly good place to kind of say whether or not I think this game is worth coming back to or not. First thing I want to highlight are a couple major issues that I've found with the game. So, when you first start out in the game, there are very poor directions given to new players. You start out in a town that you're not actually there's no quest for you to, like, no initial starting quest there, and there's no indication that you need to go to the next town other than a small arrow on the mini map that you see once you get to a certain area. I just found that system really, it just didn't really direct you at all. So you just start out in a town full of people who are AFK and no directions given to you. It took me about 10 minutes to figure out, oh, okay, I need to go to this next town, and that's where all my quests start showing up. And once you start this quest, that's when it starts giving you the guide tips. So it starts telling you, okay, if you hit M, then this opens up your map, or you do this, and then this next thing will happen. What ended up happening is I already learned all those things by the time I got there, because it took me so long to figure out that, okay, this is in the next town. I think that's really not good for new players. Um, and because I've already played this game years ago, and I do have a lot of experience with MMORPGs, I kind of figured out what to do. I think that's a big deterrent for a lot of other people, though. Um, the next piece is the questing system. It's very linear. I don't know if it's just because I'm in this newer server, but the experience rate I think was multiplied by about 7 times or so. So every time I killed a monster at the very beginning, I was gaining like 6 levels, and then each main storyline quest that I would complete, once again I gained about 7 levels, and those they weren't really, it didn't feel rewarding because it just felt like I was skipping everything so fast. Like I was spending more time putting stat points into the character than I was actually playing the character. Another piece that I also found is that the game just gives you everything that you need. So all of the armor, all of the mounts, every weapon, you're never actually earning anything. And even when something does drop, you just throw it away because you've got all this other stuff from like new player boxes and things like that. Um, to kind of go along with the gear and the weapons and stuff that the game is giving you, there's no difficulty in the game. You can click your way through everything. I was never worried about dying. I know that I'm not at the last level, but it seems like the entire leveling experience is going to go kind of this way, where there isn't really a threat of dying. And I think a big part of that is it's to do with the monster AI. So any of the enemies that you're encountering, it seems like only 2 to 3 ever attack you at one time, even if there's more near you. And the enemies don't really walk around very much. So it just ends up feeling kind of like you're going to slog your way through as many levels until you hit the end game, whatever that is. And I'll take a little read on that later. So another thing that I really didn't like about this game, I found it once I think I was like around level 50. Um, there's a battle assist feature in this game. And what that is essentially every day you can get your character to farm for an hour with you not being at your computer. I absolutely hate when a game plays itself. It is not a good mechanic, and it doesn't feel rewarding at all. It kind of disconnects you from your character because you can kind of look at it and say, okay, well, what is the difference between this and botting in a different game? There isn't really a difference. It's just an artificial way to increase your character's power. You can just leave them there, have them farm, level up without you even being at your computer. And then the next thing, the combat system. I don't completely understand why you get every skill. I figured that when I was looking at the skill point system and the stats, I thought that you would make some choices and you get to pick what skills you wanted and what skills you didn't. But what ends up happening is all of your skills just get leveled up for you. I never had to level up any skills. All I did was put all my stat points in. So just leveled up strength all the way and then got a bunch of free skills. And every time I got a new skill, I would just throw it on my keyboard. But because these skills are super long, so one animation will be, let's say, 7 attacks with this character. So that's a maybe 5-second skill. By the time I'm done doing that first skill, there's only one. The other skill that's the strongest, the second strongest skill, is now available to be used again. So really, every other skill before that is now useless because my 2 strongest skills can be used back to back. It doesn't feel great. Because of that, you're essentially just walking up using the same 2 skills over and over and over, weaving in a little bit of auto attacks. But even with the auto attacks, all you do is just right click and your character runs up to them and starts auto attacking them. I don't mind the auto attack system in an MMORPG. It's generally necessary, especially if it's not an action, like a true action combat system. But I do also dislike it when the auto attack starts by running your character to the enemy. It makes it feel a little bit like more disconnected. So I just wanted to show you guys really quickly what I was talking about in that last section, where you kind of start out in an area that has nothing to do with the main story quest, and you kind of have to figure your way through. So this character I just created just to show you guys, and I'll connect to the server and we'll take a look at what that looks like. Alright, so as you can see in my mini map here, there's nothing indicating where I'm supposed to be going, as far as I can see. Maybe I'm missing something. Let me know in the comments if I am. But there's nothing indicating where I'm supposed to be going. My first quest says, Kironi's enemy, completion NPC, Ironblood Kale. Welcome to the world of Dekaron. Converse with Ironblood Kale to learn more about your journey in Trieste. Okay? And then there's a second quest that you start out with, which just appears to be some sort of coding issue here. I've actually seen the coding issues a couple different times in like quest dialogue. So just not already you start out with this one quest that really has nothing, like it doesn't really explain anything. So I'm going to abandon this. Bunch of question marks. Doesn't even let me get rid of it. Okay, let's look at this. Ironblood Kale. So you would think that for a new player, they would start out somewhere that they could see Ironblood Kale, whether that be somewhere relatively close. There's a fairly short draw distance in this game, so I do understand if you have to walk around and see it, but everybody near me is just AFK gold sellers or a person that's selling stuff. I don't know, it's just a very poor first impression when you get in and you can't figure out what to do. So initially I thought, okay, well maybe I talk to this lady, and this is some sort of event NPC. I don't understand it. It took me over 10 minutes to figure out, okay, I'm starting here, and I need to go all the way over to this Tower of Guard. Another thing that isn't really clear is that if you go out through the top part and just try to run over to the Tower of Guard, you actually can't walk through this river. There's no swimming in this game or jumping or anything like that. So I walked up here first, had to turn around and then walk all the way back over here to get to this Tower of Guard. And once there, then they explained how to open your mini-map. So why did you not just start in the Tower of Guard where they explain how the game works? Just wanted to kind of highlight the speed of the leveling here. If you look, it says experience 6 times event, and if you start opening these boxes, there's some consumables that appear to increase your experience even further. So it just becomes ridiculous. I don't know what's going on with these guys. Oh, okay, they're just glitching in and out. Anyway, I'm going to attack one of these monsters and show you guys just how crazy the leveling is in this game. If you look, the lizard is supposed to be red, so indicating I can't fight him, but he does no damage to me. And I leveled up 4 times from killing him. I'm on my main character now. I just wanted to kind of show you guys the gameplay, what it looks like when you get a little bit higher level, as well as talk about some of the pieces that do hold up from the game, because it's not all bad. So the classes are fairly unique, like I had said earlier. There's pretty cool pieces to them. Like you saw in the one clip, there is a character that has a blood whip. This character is a dual wielder that also has pets. There's like a big kind of blue orc looking guy that uses like his fists to punch through things. I don't know, there's just a lot of kind of cool classes that have kind of cool mechanics. At least to me, I think they look cool. I also really enjoy that there are a lot of different skills. So with this character, you get the option to use either a staff or dual wielding swords. And if you can see, you get a lot of skills with this class and with every class. Like I said, I played the other class as well up to like level 38 or something like that. So you do get a lot of skills for your classes. Whether you use all those skills, that's a different question, but you do get a lot of them, and I don't know if maybe at the end of the game you kind of look back and say, okay, I want to level up this skill and use this combination of skills. It's a pretty cool system. There's a lot of different skills. I like it. As you just saw, somebody just ran by. The community is fairly active. I've met a friend already playing through. So this guy Drift, we completed a quest together. We didn't need to group up for it, but we just started talking and did, and then ended up dueling each other as well. Another thing I really enjoy about this game is the soundtrack. I think the music, for the most part, is really nice. It's a lot better than a lot of other games where it's not real instruments. And at least to my ear, it does sound like they're using real instruments, and the different zones have different sounds, which is nice. The loop is maybe a little short, but other than that, I generally keep the volume on while I'm playing. So I'm just going to show you guys a little bit of this combat here. It looks like my pet is kind of taking them out on his own. But as you can see, I'm in no real danger here. The enemies kind of just like fall over, and that I know that it's showing that they're green, but no matter what they look like, maybe if you go to like a zone that you're absolutely not supposed to be at, so maybe like a few zones ahead, you might start feeling like your character has the chance of dying. But for the most part, you can kind of just walk through and click on monsters and just and never worry that you're gonna die or anything's gonna happen to you. I'll show some of the skills for this character. As you can see, it's kind of like a chain skill. That part I don't like that much. So no matter what point the character actually dies that you're fighting, the skill still keeps going. If you can see, the character's been dead, like the enemy's been dead for a little while, and my character just keeps attacking. Another thing that I didn't really get in this game is it seems like these are kind of, if you've ever played Diablo, they're kind of like the loot goblins, except they're kind of all over the place. It got to the point where I don't really kill them anymore, just because I don't know, like I don't really know the purpose, and I don't think I'm gonna end up using the gold because the game just gives you so many items all the time, and I knew that I'm not gonna play this till the last level or anything like that, so I don't think the gold is really going to be useful to me. I also don't use potions or anything like that while leveling up because all the monsters are just so easy to kill. Alright guys, so I'm going to jump right into my final thoughts. Overall, the game has slowly grown on me while playing through it. When I first started, it wasn't... I didn't even honestly want to keep going with the review. I was just so unimpressed with the starting zone being in a different town with no indication that it's in that other town, that I didn't want to keep going. But as I played through more and more, I kind of understood what some people could enjoy out of this game. I wouldn't recommend for most people going back to the game unless you really, really had fond memories of it. It hasn't held up well. It doesn't seem like the developers care a whole lot, especially at the beginning of the game. Like I said, there's a quest that you start out with that's just a bunch of numbers. There's multiple different pathing issues, and you're just kind of spoon-fed everything throughout the whole beginning of the game, and you're leveling up so fast that you don't actually care about anything. I overall would give this game a 4 out of 10. The game doesn't hold up. Ultimately, that's my opinion. So please let me know if you think I missed anything, or if you've played the game and this score isn't appropriate because there's a part of the game that I haven't really talked about or haven't reached. I'm not sure. This is just my opinion so far, and I'd be more than willing to go back to it if people think that I didn't give it a fair shot. Anyway, thanks for watching. This has been one of my first reviews, so let me know what you think I could have done better, and if there was anything, let me know that you enjoyed any piece of this, if you enjoyed any piece of this review. Also consider subscribing if you want to see more reviews of other games that you maybe played in the past or are considering playing now.